My coworker's ex-girlfriend got me involved in her lies. When I exposed her affair with his best friend, she tried to destroy my career, but karma hit her hard. I, 28 female, have been working at this retail store for about 4 years now. I started as a sales associate and worked my way up to assistant manager. This whole mess started when Jake, 25 male, joined our store as a new hire last year. He was this really hard-working guy who caught on quickly and always stayed late to help others. Everyone liked him because he had this positive attitude that made even the worst shifts bearable. About 3 months after Jake started, Emily, 23 female, transferred to our store from another branch. She was quite different from Jake. While he was calm and methodical, she was more spontaneous and energetic. Despite their differences, they hit it off immediately. I remember how Jake would always find excuses to help in her department, and Emily would bring him coffee during his morning shifts. They started dating about a month after Emily transferred. At first, they tried to keep it professional at work, but everyone knew. It was actually cute seeing them steal glances at each other across the store or having lunch together in the break room. Emily would always talk about how Jake was different from her exes because he actually supported her dreams. Emily had dropped out of college 2 years ago due to financial issues but wanted to go back and finish her degree in marketing. Jake encouraged her to take online classes and even helped her study during their breaks. He would cover her shifts when she had exams and bought her textbooks when she was short on money. I became friends with both of them during this time and often hung out with them outside work. Things seemed perfect until about 8 months into their relationship. Emily started acting differently. She began missing shifts or coming in late, saying she was too tired from studying. Jake would cover for her whenever possible, but our manager noticed and gave her several warnings. Then one day, Emily suddenly announced she was breaking up with Jake because she needed to focus on herself and her career. Her exact words were that Jake was holding her back from achieving her dreams and that she needed to prioritize her success over their relationship. This made no sense to anyone who knew them because Jake had been nothing but supportive. He was devastated but tried to remain professional at work. After the breakup, I started noticing concerning changes in Emily's behavior. She began showing up to work hungover and would spend most of her shifts texting instead of helping customers. She started hanging out with a new group of friends who seemed to party every night. Despite this, she kept talking about how she was focusing on her goals and grinding to improve her life. I felt bad seeing her spiral, so I decided to help. My friend Sarah, 32F, was looking for someone reliable at her company. It was an entry-level marketing position with real growth potential, exactly what Emily claimed she wanted. I vouched for Emily, putting my own reputation on the line. Sarah trusted my judgment and hired Emily without even interviewing other candidates. Emily seemed excited about the opportunity and promised she would take it seriously. She kept saying how grateful she was and how she wouldn't let me down. 2 weeks into her new job, I noticed she was acting strange. She would avoid talking about work and changed the subject whenever Jake's name came up. Then during one lunch break, Emily pulled me into the empty break room and told me something that made me question everything I thought I knew about her. She had slept with Mark, 26M, Jake's best friend and roommate, while Jake was away visiting his sick grandmother. What made it worse was how she tried to justify it. According to Emily, Mark had been blackmailing her with some inappropriate pictures she had sent him before. She claimed she had no choice but to sleep with him or he would share the pictures with everyone. I found this hard to believe because I knew Mark had been Jake's best friend since high school. They were like brothers and had even started a small business together in college. A few days after this revelation, I received a text from Emily just before her shift at the new job. All it said was that she was throwing up outside the building. I texted back asking if she needed help but got no response. Later that day, Sarah called asking about Emily because she hadn't shown up for work and wasn't answering her phone. She was worried something might have happened to Emily. 3 days passed without anyone hearing from her. I was genuinely concerned, so I called her sister Amy, 21F, to check if Emily was okay. That's when I learned the truth. Emily had been fine all along. She had spent the night before her shift doing drugs and partying with Mark at some club. The drugs made her sick the next morning, so she decided to skip work without telling anyone. I was furious. Not only had she embarrassed me in front of Sarah, who ended up firing her, but she was still seeing Mark behind Jake's back. I waited 6 days for Emily to at least apologize or explain herself, but she never did. Instead, she kept posting pictures on social media of her and Mark at various clubs and parties. That's when someone sent me screenshots of older posts showing Emily and Mark together at different places over the past few months, even before her breakup with Jake. Looking at the dates, I realized they had been seeing each other secretly while she was still dating Jake. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. Jake deserved to know the truth about both his girlfriend and his best friend. I invited him for coffee after work and told him everything. About Emily and Mark's affair, how it started before their breakup, and how they were still seeing each other. I showed him the social media posts and screenshots as proof. Jake broke down completely. He told me Mark had been his best friend since high school, and they had been through everything together. They had supported each other through family problems, celebrated each other's successes, and even started their first business together. Finding out both his ex and best friend had betrayed him like this destroyed him. Jake moved out of his apartment that same day and blocked both Emily and Mark on everything. Some of our coworkers think I should have minded my own business. They say what happened between Jake, Emily, and Mark wasn't my concern. But I believe Jake deserved to know the truth about the people he trusted most. So Reddit, Aita? Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my original post. Things have escalated far beyond what I expected, and I need to share what's happened since then. After Jake moved out of his apartment, Emily started a vicious campaign against me at work. She began spreading rumors that I had always had feelings for Jake and was jealous of her new relationship with Mark. According to her, I was just a bitter, lonely woman who couldn't stand seeing others happy. She told everyone that I had manipulated the situation to try to break them up because I wanted Jake for myself. What made it worse was how she would cry in the break room, telling anyone who would listen about how I had ruined her life. She claimed she and Mark were truly in love, and I had destroyed their chance at happiness out of spite. Some of our younger coworkers, especially the ones who didn't know the whole story, started believing her version of events. Our workplace became divided into 2 camps. The newer employees who only knew Emily's side supported her, while those who had been around longer and had seen everything unfold sided with me. The tension was unbearable. Simple tasks like shift handovers or team meetings became uncomfortable because no one wanted to work directly with either of us. Emily started going out of her way to make my life difficult. She would deliberately mess up displays I had just finished arranging, claiming it was an accident. During my shifts, she would take extra long breaks, leaving me short-staffed during rush hours. She even started telling customers who asked for my help that I was rude to her, trying to get me negative feedback. Things got really bad last week when she tried to get me written up. She went to our manager crying, claiming I had been following her around the store and making threatening comments. She said she felt unsafe working with me and demanded action be taken. Thankfully, our store has security cameras everywhere. The footage showed that not only was I never following her, but she was the one going out of her way to come to my department and cause scenes. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Mark showed up at our store last Tuesday. He came in during the busiest part of the day, clearly drunk, and started yelling at me in front of customers. He was screaming about how I had no right to interfere in their lives and that their relationship was none of my business. He kept saying that he and Emily were soulmates who couldn't help falling in love, even if the timing wasn't perfect. The whole store went silent as Mark continued his rant. He revealed that he had actually been interested in Emily before she started dating Jake, but never said anything because he didn't want to hurt his best friend. According to him, they tried fighting their feelings but couldn't help themselves. He claimed they never meant to hurt Jake and were planning to tell him eventually. Our manager had to call security to remove Mark from the store. As they were escorting him out, he kept shouting that I would regret ruining their lives. Several customers recorded the whole incident, and it ended up on social media. The company's corporate office got involved after the videos started circulating online. That's when things took an unexpected turn. During the investigation into the incident, our loss prevention team discovered something shocking. They reviewed weeks of security footage and found that Emily had been stealing merchandise for months. She would hide clothes in her bag during her shifts or wear them under her uniform when leaving work. When confronted with the evidence, Emily tried to drag me down with her. She claimed I had given her permission to take the items, saying it was a common practice among management. She even went as far as to say I had been stealing too and was only denying it now to save myself. Once again, the security footage proved she was lying. Emily was fired immediately. As she was being escorted out, she started screaming that this was all my fault and that I would pay for what I had done to her. Our manager had to threaten to call the police before she finally left. After all this drama, Jake reached out to thank me again. He told me Mark had been messaging their mutual friends, trying to justify his actions. Mark was telling everyone that Emily and Jake's relationship had been toxic and that he had only pursued Emily after noticing how unhappy she was with Jake. He claimed they had tried to handle things maturely by waiting until after the breakup to be together officially. None of their friends believed his excuses though. Most of them had seen how supportive and caring Jake had been throughout his relationship with Emily. One by one, their friend group started cutting ties with both Mark and Emily. Even Mark's own sister, who had initially defended him, apologized to Jake after learning the full story. The whole situation has made work incredibly uncomfortable. Even though Emily is gone, the tension remains. Some coworkers still believe I should have minded my own business, while others say I did the right thing. I've requested a transfer to another branch, but it could take months for a position to open up. I stand by my decision to tell Jake the truth, but I never expected it would lead to such chaos. I'll post another update if anything significant happens. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I just learned some shocking information that changes everything about this situation. Yesterday, Emily's sister Amy called me out of the blue. She was crying and said she couldn't keep quiet anymore about what she knew. According to Amy, everything that happened between Emily, Jake, and Mark was planned from the very beginning. Amy revealed that Emily and Mark actually met 6 months before she started dating Jake. They were at a mutual friends party where Mark mentioned that his best friend Jake was looking for a serious relationship. Emily, who had just lost her job at the time and was struggling financially, saw an opportunity. Amy told me that Emily had always dreamed of becoming a social media influencer but needed someone stable to support her while she built her following. She had been looking for what she called a safety net, someone with a good job who could help pay the bills while she focused on her social media career. When Mark mentioned Jake, Emily decided he would be perfect for her plan. What surprised me most was learning that Mark was fully involved from the start. He helped Emily get the transfer to our store, knowing Jake worked there. He even coached her on what to say and how to act around Jake, telling her about his likes and interests so she could pretend they had things in common. The whole time Emily was dating Jake, she and Mark were secretly seeing each other. They would meet up whenever Jake was at work or visiting his family. Mark would deliberately invite Jake to guys' nights or weekend trips, then cancel at the last minute so he could spend time with Emily. They thought they were being clever, but several of their friends had spotted them together. The breakup happened because Jake was starting to notice something was off. He had found some inconsistencies in Emily's stories about where she had been and who she was with. The whole story about wanting to focus on herself was just an excuse they came up with to end things before Jake discovered the truth. The most disturbing part was learning about the blackmail story. Amy showed me text messages where Emily bragged about making up the entire thing. The inappropriate pictures never existed. She and Mark created that story as a backup plan in case anyone found out about their relationship. They thought people would be more sympathetic if they believed Mark had forced her into the situation. Amy also revealed that Emily had been stealing from our store specifically to fund her social media career. She would take expensive clothes to wear in her posts, then return them damaged so they would be marked down for clearance. She would then buy them at the reduced price. This had been going on for months before she was caught. The reason Amy decided to come clean now is because Emily has started doing the same thing to Mark that she did to Jake. Amy found messages on Emily's phone showing she's been talking to one of Mark's wealthy friends. She's been meeting this guy secretly while telling Mark she's at photo shoots or brand meetings for her influencer career. I shared all this information with Jake. He was hurt but said knowing the truth helped him understand that neither Emily nor Mark deserved his trust or friendship. He admitted that there had been signs he ignored because he trusted them both so completely. Looking back, he remembered times when Mark would act strangely around Emily or how she would quickly close her phone when he entered the room. Jake told me he's actually grateful now that everything came out the way it did. He's been dating someone new for a few weeks, a girl he met at his gym who shares his genuine interests and values. He says it's refreshing to be with someone who doesn't constantly need validation from social media and who actually contributes equally to the relationship. Mark still occasionally tries to justify his actions to their mutual friends. He's been telling people that he and Emily were meant to be together and that sometimes love makes people do crazy things. Nobody buys his excuses anymore though. Most of their friend group has cut all contact with both of them. I felt vindicated learning all this information. It proved that my instincts about Emily had been right from the start. Some of our coworkers who had sided with her have apologized to me after hearing about what Amy revealed. Even my manager admitted he should have noticed something was wrong sooner. Update 3. 6 months have passed since my original post, and I just got an interesting message that brings this whole story to a close. Emily reached out to me today through a fake social media account. At first, I didn't know it was her, but her writing style gave her away. She started by apologizing for everything she had done, but as she continued writing, it became clear she wasn't really sorry, she just needed help. Apparently, she and Mark got engaged 3 months ago, but their relationship has completely fallen apart. According to her message, once they didn't have to sneak around anymore, they realized they had nothing in common except their love of partying and drama. They started fighting constantly about money and their future. Emily's attempts at becoming an influencer failed miserably. She spent thousands of dollars on clothes, makeup, and photography equipment, maxing out several credit cards. She even paid for fake followers and engagement, but brands quickly caught on and blacklisted her. All the while, she was telling Mark that she was on the verge of getting big sponsorship deals. The situation got worse when Mark lost his job 3 months ago. He had been showing up late and hungover too many times, and his company finally had enough. Since then, they've been struggling to pay rent and have had to move in with one of Mark's cousins who still talks to them. Emily's message went on to explain that she's been trying to find work, but her reputation has followed her everywhere. Our store's corporate office apparently flagged her employee file for theft, making it impossible for her to get another retail job. The marketing position she lost because of her drug use is also coming back to haunt her, as Sarah has warned other companies in her network about Emily's behavior. The most ironic part was that Emily asked if I could help her get her old job back at our store. She claimed she had changed and learned her lesson. She even offered to pay back for all the merchandise she had stolen if the store would give her another chance. When I didn't respond, she sent several more messages getting increasingly desperate, saying she and Mark were about to be kicked out of his cousin's place. I blocked her account without responding. Her problems are entirely of her own making, and I have no interest in getting involved in her drama again. Some of our old coworkers told me she's been reaching out to them too, trying to find someone who will help her, but everyone remembers how she treated people and what she did to Jake. Speaking of Jake, he's doing amazingly well. He was promoted to regional manager last month and is still dating the girl from his gym. They moved in together recently, and he seems genuinely happy. He rarely mentions Emily or Mark anymore, and when he does, it's with relief that he found out their true nature before getting more seriously involved with Emily. As for me, I finally got my transfer to another branch. It's actually a step up from my previous position, with better pay and more responsibilities. The drama with Emily ironically helped my career, as upper management noticed how professionally I handled the situation. Looking back, I'm glad I told Jake the truth despite all the chaos it caused. Emily and Mark's lies eventually caught up with them, and now they're facing the consequences of their actions. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't easy, but watching karma finally catch up to people who hurt others makes it worth it in the end.